If, episode 2, What If T'Challa Became Starlord? And like I said before, I was actually looking forward to this episode most of all. So jumping right into it, when the episode starts, they basically they reenact the scene from the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy where Star Lord is looking for like the jewel, the Power Stone. Was it the Power Stone? I think it was the Power Stone. And when we see that scene, like Quill's there, and then he bumps into like those army guys, and then nobody knew who he was, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm Star Lord." They were like, "Who?" And then he's like, Star Lord was like some bumbling buffoon that nobody cared about, and they all took for a joke. See, but in this, when they do the enactment now, and now it's T'Challa instead of Peter Quill, everybody knows who T'Challa is and everybody loves him. When they see him, they're just like, "Oh, it is Starlord, the great." They still called him Starlord, but they was like, "It is Starlord, the greatest outlaw of all time." And he basically turned himself into a modern day into a intergalactic Robin Hood. Because they said that T'Challa, like, he robs from the powerful and gives to the powerless. He was out there like, restoring like planets and saving, galaxies, and he was bringing people together, all with his diplomatic his diplomatic ways of talking, which I thought was really cool. Like after he ended up, like getting his hands on the Power Stone or whatever the hell was in the orb, he goes to a diner, and then you see the effect that his presence had on the galaxy. Like, this man literally brought world peace to the galaxy. Like, Drax's planet wasn't destroyed, and we saw Drax, he was actually working at the diner. Nebula never got turned into like a robot. She had like like one or two like metal pieces on her, but she had like long blonde hair, and she was all like sexy or whatever. And then for the love of God, like Thanos, like even Thanos ended up joining T'Challa's team. And, he even said he was just like, "Oh, I was going to do world domination and I was going to wipe out half the universe. But T'Challa showed me another way for peace and prosperity." And I was like, well, damn, like the boy, like he single-handedly like cleaned up everything. Like he took care of everything. And I guess because of the stuff that he did, Gamora still lives on her planet perfectly fine. Drax has his entire family intact and his home world is still intact. And I guess like maybe Rocket and Rocket said he was created, so I guess like maybe he was never created. But and then like Groot, wherever planet Groot's from, I'm pretty sure he's still there. But again, like there's peace. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how does Carol fit in all this? Like, where does Miss Marvel fit in this whole thing? But it was pretty interesting. So then Nebula, she's still the daughter of Thanos, the adopted daughter of Thanos. She goes to T'Challa. She calls him Cha-Cha, which I thought was actually hilarious. She called him Cha-Cha. And then she asked him, she told him, she said that she had, like, one mission for him, and she needed his help, so he agreed to help with the mission. For this mission, they go run up on the Collector. And my God, did he do a 180, because the Collector in Guardians of the Galaxy was some like sniveling, like he pretended to be tough, but in the end he was basically like some sniveling, like like a-hole. But in this one, he's all powerful and confident, and he whooping people ass, and he done kidnap people all over the world. He done stole like NASA's dog. Like, he had Captain America's shield. He had Thor's sister's like helmet. Like he had a bunch of. He even had Thor's hammer. He had Thor's hammer up there, which I thought was interesting as well. And because their whole thing was they needed to break in, so they can steal something specific. So as they broke in, T'Challa, when he went into the room, I forgot what what they were trying to steal was some plant thing that if they grow it, if they put it into the ground and grow it, it'll make like like the planet more richer, and then they can feed like hundreds of worlds. Like they can end like universal hunger. So that was basically the plan. So when T'Challa goes into a chamber to try to find this thing, he ends up seeing a message from his father. And this is where it was crazy to me, because they showed us earlier in the episode how T'Challa ended up in outer space, wandering around the forest. And then the difference was the same way how like in the Captain America episode, Peggy chose to stay down on the floor instead of going up top. In this, the difference that changed was Nandu, he sent his minions to go pick up Peter Quill. He didn't actually go himself. And his minions, they said that they got such big energy readings coming from Wakanda, they assumed that's where, because Peter Quill is half alien. They assumed that's where he was because they said the readings from this place was off the charts, and then they snatched up T'Challa and they brought him back on the ship. And then Nandu's like, "Does this look like Peter Quill to you?" And then he was just like, all Earthlings look alike. And I was like, racist. So, but because T'Challa wanted to see the world, Nandu was just like, well, instead of the world, how about I show you the galaxy? And then that's why he ended up staying. So he didn't get abducted. Like, he actually chose to stay. But he did find out. But Nandu did lie to him at one point. Because, like, the one thing that wasn't part of the plan, when he saw a message from his father, he was just like, oh, my son was abducted by aliens, and if you see him in outer space, bring him home. So I guess Wakanda had surveillance cameras when he got snatched up, so they know he kind of like went on. Well, I mean, he did go of his own free accord, but they did kind of like like yoke him up or whatever. But when he saw the message, he got upset because Nandu had told him that Wakanda was destroyed and that everybody had died and there was no place for him to go back to. Come to find out, his daddy didn't send him a goddamn message. So he got upset, but it didn't last out because he's T'Challa. It's like, he's gonna get mad, but he ain't gonna get like mad. And then and then in the end, like, everybody fought. Thanos fought by his side. Everybody fought by his side. They stopped the Collector. They ended up, like, the girl that works for the Collector, they gave her the gauntlet, and now she has the power. They locked the Collector up in a cage. They left the people that he's kidnapped, that he's collected throughout the course of history. They let those people decide his fate, and I think they killed his ass. And then after, like, everybody did. And because T'Challa is, like, the greatest person in the universe, and everybody loves him, and he ended up turning Nandu's group from a bunch of pirate, like, villainous pirates to, like, saviors of, like, of, like, the galaxy or whatever. They ended up telling him, they were just like, yeah, they apologized about lying to him about his parents, and they told him, like, if you want, follow your heart and go back home. So in the end, like, T'Challa ended up flying back home. He saw his dad, he saw his sister, he saw his mom. He brought all his alien friends with him, and the aliens and the Wakandans were there, just celebrating T'Challa's return, and everybody was one big happy family, which I thought was pretty cool. And then at the end, like, they had an homage, they had, like, a dedication to Chadwick Boseman, which was very sweet. So the episode was done very well. Like, I can't complain. See, my whole thing was, when they said that Wakanda was destroyed, I was like, well, that makes perfect sense, because I was under the impression that once they found out the prince got abducted, I thought Wakanda was going to declare war on everybody and burn the whole world down to the ground before they realized that he got snatched up in outer space. But Wakandan technology is so good, they knew he got abducted by aliens right out the gate. And in fact, like I said, so they never actually, like, declared war. They were just, like, in hiding under, like, that magical force field bubble. So that was it, and thank you for tuning in. So this was a good episode. Like, like, I thought it was pretty cool. Again, I'm still trying to figure out what's the point, because everybody's like, oh, what if this happened? What if that happened? And my whole thing is, what is the point? Because it's not like changing these stories. Like, because the thing is, I don't feel like What If has anything to do with the Marvel Phase 4 story that they're telling, because what would be the point of changing all this stuff at this point? But if you're going to ask the question, what if, like, what if this happened? It's just fun stories and fun fairy tales, just for us to imagine what if certain events didn't take place. I don't think this is going to have, like, a legitimate effect, like, on the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the timeline, but we'll see what happens. If they do end up, like, tying it in somehow. And the only reason why I'm even giving that, like, any thought is because of the Watcher, because the Watcher's involved. It's like, oh, hey, who brought him up out of nowhere? So maybe he'll be a thing later on, maybe he won't be. But like I said, but let me know what you thought about this episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you like him being Starlord? Oh, and we got a post-credit scene where we actually saw Peter Quill years later. He's working at a gas station, and then, like, his terraform daddy showed up, and then, like, he ran up on him and like at the gas station store. But they said that's a conversation for a different day. But let me know what you think. Like, did you enjoy this episode? Did you not? Do you like T'Challa being Starlord? Do you not like T'Challa being Starlord? And what are your thoughts on all the character changes and different personalities of people that turned out differently due to T'Challa being basically, like, the verbal presence of the guys? So thank you for tuning in, guys. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram as always. Until next time, for some Marvel news, take care, and I'm out this.